Hi, I'm Bob Price, host of the Family Life Noon Report. And next, we're taking a closer look at Alzheimer's disease and the impact it has on families with author Lisa Skinner. She wrote the book Truth, Lies, and Alzheimer's: Its Secret Faces. Here's some of our conversation. Every one of us, in some degree or another, has been touched by this terrible disease. Beyond forgetfulness, though, how can people distinguish between normal aging, forgetfulness, mild cognitive impairment, and dementia?
That's a really tough one for people. One of the things that makes living with dementia so difficult. As a matter of fact, most people are not diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or a related brain disease that causes dementia until they're already well into the mid-stage of the disease. The symptoms, the behaviors, the signs are so subtle in the beginning. I can't remember where I put my keys, or why did I walk into this room? I can't remember. Oh, well, turn around, go out. Oh, yeah, that's why I walked into that room. I mean, these things happen to all of us.
Yeah, that's so true. Lisa Skinner is our guest today to talk with us about her book, Truth, Lies, and Alzheimer's: Its Secret Faces. This affects so many people, and the rates of Alzheimer's in this country just seems to be like quadrupling every 5 years or so. What can families do proactively to prepare for a loved one's diagnosis with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia?
Well, in 30 years of observing how families react to getting a diagnosis, I would say if that happens to your family, learn as much as you can about the impact that Alzheimer's disease and some of these other brain diseases actually have on the brains of people living with it. I mean, this disease impacts all of our cognitive abilities. We lose our ability to make rational decisions about things, to use common sense. And really, as we progress through the disease, we end up falling back pretty much on raw emotion to respond to things that are going on in our new world. So it's really important for family members and caregivers to understand what to expect. So if you recognize these things as being part of the disease, you're much better off.
Yeah. You argue you can reduce your risk developing Alzheimer's by 40% by taking action now. I have heard things like your brain's a muscle, crossword puzzles, stay healthy, eating habits, exercise. What can people do now to minimize the risk of getting this disease?
Follow all the things that you just mentioned, and there have been just numerous studies over the decades that support this. Probably the worst foods that we can eat that increase our risk of developing Alzheimer's disease are things like ultra-processed foods and processed foods.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why ultra-processed foods and the processed foods have turned out to be dangerous is because they create inflammation in our brains and our bodies.
Yeah.
And there's been a correlation between inflammation and the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease.
Are you concerned at all with the younger generation and the digital addiction that happens with social media, the overuse of electronics? We're not doing any critical thinking anymore. We're not using our brains anymore. Are you worried about this young, and I say younger generation, I suppose us old fogies are just as guilty at this, but as technology takes over our lives more and we're not using our brains, are you concerned about what that might do as far as exploding the rates of Alzheimer's in this country?
I am, and we already know, based on the statistics that we're being given through the World Health Organization, through the Alzheimer's Association, that just in the next 25 years, so by the year 2050, we are expected to see the number of people developing Alzheimer's disease triple But to address your particular point in question is I am concerned about the younger generation because we actually are starting to see a rise in the number of people who develop early onset Alzheimer's disease. The traditional form of Alzheimer's typically starts showing up once we hit the age of 65 and older.
Yeah.
Early onset is Alzheimer's disease. It's a rarer form of it, but it shows up prior to the age of 65. As a matter of fact, the youngest person diagnosed with early onset is 19 years old.
Unreal.
That's the youngest person ever diagnosed. Before that, it was like 30-something.
Wow, that is so sad. And this is going to be a healthcare epidemic in this country. You know, I've heard from people, and my own family members, my grandmother who had Parkinson's and dementia, and it was like you didn't recognize this person anymore, the changes in behavior. Can you discuss at all some of the coping strategies that families can adopt to prepare for this challenge in the behavioral changes in their loved one?
Yes. And the reason why this is so important to understand is because the best practices or the effective responses are actually counterintuitive to our instinctive responses. So let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. It's not uncommon for somebody that lives with dementia to believe in their mind that their spouse, who may have passed away years ago, is still alive and maybe waiting for them at home to come home.
Yeah.
And our instinctive reaction to that would be to try to correct them, right? We'd want to fix them. We're wired to fix people. We care about our loved ones. So we might say, "Oh, Mom, don't you remember Dad passed away years ago? What are you talking about? Dad's been gone for years." Well, that's our instinctive response. But the effective response would be to do what we call join their reality and go along with that false belief. What's been discovered is that there's absolutely nothing anybody can say to change the mind of somebody who is actually in this false belief mode, and it would be harmful to try to convince somebody that their spouse, who they think, they believe is still alive, has passed away. It could send them into a panic.
Sure.
Like, what? Nobody told me. When did this happen? See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and this happens all the time.
I've heard that from other people, that your action to correct their belief is, as you mentioned, could be even more harmful than just letting them play out that role. So I would ask then, when it comes to managing a person with Alzheimer's, because right now it's sad to say there's no cure. Hopefully one day before in our lifetimes we'll find a cure for this, Lisa, but right now there's not.
No.
So we manage it as best we can. Talk to that spouse, because I think of them and just the pain of seeing a loved one go down cognitively like this. What are the best practices that they can adopt in managing this horrible disease?
The best practices that I have seen are to acknowledge what they're saying, to validate what they're saying, to empathize with them, reassure them you understand how they're feeling about something. You could say, "Oh, I can see this is really upsetting to you." Offer a solution that would help relieve their concern, their worry, their distress, and always approach them with patience and calm and empathy. And it would surprise a lot of people how quickly that can turn the situation around instead of escalate it.
That is Lisa Skinner, author of Truth, Lies, and Alzheimer's. You can learn more on her website, mindingdementia.com. That's mindingdementia.com.